Sugar-free candy corn in just 15 minutes. It looks real, tastes amazing, and yes, you can totally make it at home. I hope you're a candy corn fan. To be honest, this recipe did not come easy. My first few attempts were a sticky mess. It was too tacky, too soft, and the candy just melted into blobs after I shaped it. But after a lot of tweaking, I finally nailed it, and I'm so excited to share this version that actually works and tastes good. First, we start with our dry ingredients. Start with 2.5 cups of powdered allulose. Allulose is my go-to sweetener here because it isn't quite as sweet as sugar. Some of those powdered sugar-free sweeteners can be almost too sweet, like sickeningly sweet, and I think allulose just gives a cleaner, not quite as sweet flavor. To that, we're gonna add in a 1/3 cup of powdered milk. This is the secret to getting that creamy candy corn texture, so don't skip it. Yes, I know powdered milk has carbs, but we're only using a little bit. This makes like a ton of candy, so it's not gonna add up that much, and we're using it. Then add in 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we're gonna give this a whisk until it's all combined and set it aside. All right, before we work on the wet ingredients, let's take a quick cereal break. Now, I usually don't keep cereal in the house because honestly, it's just empty calories, and when you eat it, you're hungry 5 minutes later. But there is one brand of cereal that I do keep around, and that is Magic Spoon. Magic Spoon cereal has around 13 grams of protein per serving, 0 sugar, and only 4 to 5 net grams of carbs per serving. So it's fueling, it's high protein, and the taste, straight up nostalgic. It's like the cereals that we all grew up on, but it's more of a grown-up version because this stuff is actually full of protein that's gonna help keep you full. They also have a line of treats, and these things are lifesavers when I'm on the go. Each bar has around 11 to 12 grams of protein, just 1 gram of sugar. They're crispy and crunchy without having that weird, chewy, sticky texture that sometimes you get from other protein bars. And between the cereals and the treats, they have multiple flavors to choose from, so you're never gonna get bored and you're gonna wanna try them all. If you wanna try them, use my code KetoFocus5 and click on the link in the description box to get $5 off of your order. You can also find Magic Spoon on Amazon or even at your local grocery store. And the best part is that everything is backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. If you don't like it for any reason, they're gonna refund you, no questions asked. So click on the link in the description, go to magicspoon.com/KetoFocus5 or scan this QR code right here if you're watching on your TV, and you'll save $5 with my code. Now that we've had our cereal break, let's get back to our candy corn wet ingredients. Now, in a medium saucepan, we're gonna add 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar-free sweetener. You wanna choose one that measures cup for cup with regular sugar. Lakanto is the brand that I usually like to use. Then we're gonna add in 2/3 cup of your favorite sugar-free honey. And I'm using Chalk Zero honey, but Wholesome Yum also makes a honey that would work just as well in this recipe. And here's the trick to keeping your honey from sticking to your measuring cup. If that's ever happened to you before, you just want to take your cup and spray it with a little bit of cooking spray. And when you pour the honey into the saucepan, it's going to slide right out. And you don't have to worry that maybe some residual oil is going to go in there because we're going to add butter as our next ingredient. For the butter, we're adding a 1/3 cup of unsalted butter. You want to heat this over medium heat until it starts to boil. And once the butter is melted, we're going to crank up the temperature to medium high and let it continue to boil until it reaches a temperature of 290 degrees to 295 degrees Fahrenheit. This is key because if you stop too soon, you're just going to get soft, like taffy-like candy corn that just melts and doesn't hold its shape. And if you go too long, it's going to be too hard and just too hard to like move around with and mold and everything. Is that what I'm trying to say? It's not as moldable. Be more hard candy like. But that 290 to 295 is the sweet spot. It took me around 4 minutes of boiling to get there, and that was on a gas stove. Might be a little bit different if you're using an electric stove, but it will look like this once it's ready. And once it's there, we're gonna pull it off the heat and stir in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and a 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract. Just a little touch of almond extract. I don't know what it is about the almond, but it gives it that candy corn flavor, but you don't wanna do too much because then it's not gonna taste like candy corn, it's gonna taste like almond. almonds or almond flavor. Then we're gonna slowly stir in our dry ingredients until it's all combined. Then we evenly split the candy into 3 bowls. I know it's kind of hard. You just need to eyeball it, do as best you can. It's not gonna really matter in the long run if maybe one has a little bit more than the other. But you wanna put it in 3 bowls. Actually, keep one in the pan. But 2 bowls and keep one in the pan. And this is where we add in some food coloring. To 1 bowl, we're gonna add in some orange food coloring. To the second, we're gonna add in yellow, and the third, we're gonna keep white. I know that this doesn't look white right now. It looks more like a brown tannish color, but trust me, when it cools, it's gonna turn white. Then I pour each color onto a silicone mat. I prefer to use a silicone mat. I guess other videos that I've seen where they make candy corn, they say that wax paper works too. I think it's a little weird. I would think parchment paper would be better, but they did say wax. I just hope that they're not like my husband and confuse wax paper with parchment paper, because they're not the same thing. But I think the silicone mat just works the best. So it's a good thing to invest in. Nothing's gonna stick to this thing. Then we're gonna let that cool on the mat just until you can start to lift the candy up and start to fold. And it's not gonna stick to the mat at all, and it's more pliable, but it's not too sticky. So as it cools, it's gonna get more pliable and not stick to your hands or anything like that. And I think that we're there. I'm gonna cut the batch in half just so that it's easier to work with, and we'll set half of that aside. Then roll each color into a ball and then into a log, and you wanna line them up into orange, yellow, white order, and then press them into a strip. And then stretch that out just a bit. You wanna stretch it out until it's around the thickness of candy corn, and then we're gonna cut it into triangles. This is the fun part, is cutting them into our little candy corn shapes. Now, I found that using a silicone like spatula, or I have a silicone bench scraper, anything silicone or like a silicone knife is gonna work best for this. It's not gonna stick to the knife. I found that using a regular knife, even if I sprayed it with oil, it still kind of stuck to the knife. So that's why I would suggest using just a silicone spatula if that's all you have. But that's what you're gonna use to cut your triangles, and then we're gonna mold that into a candy corn shape. Another tip I have is to dust them with a little bit of powdered milk as you shape them. This is also gonna keep them from being overly tacky and sticky, plus it kind of gives it that matte finish like regular candy corn has. And it won't affect the flavor at all. Now this part does take the longest. I know I said it's only gonna take us 15 minutes, but that's more of the candy making process. This part of like molding and shaping our candy corn takes a little bit longer, but it's also the fun part. And it's a great way to get the kids involved, or you can put on a Halloween movie like Goosebumps or Practical Magic and just go to town making candy corn. And that's it, homemade sugar-free candy corn that has very little carbs and tastes just like the classic version, but it's way more fun to make it yourself. If you try this one, let me know how it turned out, and definitely tell me what movie you watched while you made this. If you want to watch more sugar-free candy making videos, you should see how I make a zero-carb toffee. This one has tons of rave reviews. It's so good, and Christmas is just right around the corner. Click here to see how I make it. And don't forget to stock up on some Magic Spoon. Click down below in the description box for that link so you can get $5 off.